Welcome back to Business Owners Speak. Today I'm thrilled to have with us Susana Gaia with DaTerra Psychotherapy and Wellness. Susana, how are you today?
Good. Nice to have me here.
Yeah, it
Nice to be
is.
here.
It is nice to have you here, and we really appreciate you taking the time to be with us today. So if you could start out by telling us a little bit about you and the business.
So my name is Susana Gaia. I'm a licensed mental health counselor, licensed professional counselor in the states of New York, New Jersey, and Florida. I have offices in Newark, New Jersey, and also in Boca Raton, Florida.
Oh, very nice. Okay.
We are now a group practice, so I have other clinicians under my supervision. And recently, we also added a hypnotherapist.
Okay. Fantastic. So, how long have you owned the business?
Since 2017. First, I started on my own in Newark for a few years, like 3 years or so, and then I opened as a foreign company in Boca Raton. So I'm maintaining the two offices.
Okay. What led you to going out on your own?
Um, I've always worked with a sort of a mentor, and that kind of gave me the confidence to be able to start my practice. I am I guess I transitioned careers from a background in administrative work in finance. I used to work for a brokerage firm. So when I decided to go into psychology, I already had somewhat of a life experience and background that allowed me to open the practice first as a private practice, and then I expanded it into more of a group practice. But so the idea of having the confidence to go my own was because in New York, there's a lot of bilingual Portuguese, English speakers, and I am originally from Brazil. So I was able to attend to that clientele there and be able to service them as a licensed professional.
Okay, great. So started in 2017. Did you open both at the same time or did you New York
No,
first and
no.
then
Yeah, Florida was came later as we were entering the pandemic, and then I wanted to live in Florida, but I still had somewhat of a reputation already established in Newark, and it made sense to keep the clients that did not involve any sort of risky behaviors. And I did it in a hybrid way where every 8 weeks, which I've maintained, I go back and I see them in person.
okay, that was my next question. So you're doing some virtual, but also flying back every other month to do meet with all your New Jersey clients in person.
Correct. And we also do evaluations for immigration cases,
Hmm.
and that allows me to hold some of them in person when I go there. And a lot of the attorneys that have me in as part of their referral list, I have more in New Jersey than in Florida so far. So I think it's important to have that physical presence there.
Yeah, no doubt. Just as long as you plan it so you miss like January and February in New
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
it does kind of get extended, those trips. Like, I try to make them less often, but I do try to show up every other month.
Okay, fantastic. So walk us through a little bit of what kind of services and therapy you do offer.
So we are more client-centered, humanistic approach. We are also self-pay. I tried to use insurance, but I thought that it kind of impacted the therapeutic relationship, just exchanging information and trying. So it was not for me or the kind of boutique practice that I run. Um, we try to service clients in a more personable way, and so we again, so no insurance, but because I supervise master's level clinicians, they are able to offer low fee sessions at like $100 with the intake of 80 minutes at $120. So that kind of makes it more accessible. And then I have my regular fee at 175. The 80 minutes is 220, but still within market rate. And I'm also able to offer super bills. So if people have good insurance, they're able to submit and then get reimbursement. But I feel it preserves the relationship in terms of being focused just on what they're looking for in terms of support. We see a lot of, I particularly, the profile that tend to be my client are males with anxiety. But it's not restricted to that. And then I have my clinicians who see children and teenagers and couples. And so there is an array of issues that we are able to service. We are not specialized in addiction, which tends to be something that's more popular in Florida in terms of services and a lot of comorbidity. So if it's not the presenting issue, we will onboard the client or we'll refer out to other places.
Okay, interesting. Was your original plan to focus on males with anxiety, or is it just kind of moved that direction?
Yeah, no, it totally moved in that direction naturally. And I think it happens to a lot of clinicians when they first start in the field. They have one idea of how they're going to resonate with the clients, and then the field itself takes them to different places. Initially, I thought children was really going to be my focus, but as I opened my practice in Newark, I became acquainted with a medical clinician who medical doctor who started to send me males who were ending up in the hospital with panic attacks. And they needed to see a mental health counselor. Some of them spoke Portuguese, others English. And I started to have a good success rate with their rehabilitation to some extent at the mental health level. And so he started to refer more and more. So I made adjustments. Like initially I had a business card with my picture on it. I ran and took the picture out and to try to curtail it to the client, to the kind of clients that I was attending to.
Yeah. A lot of males out there with anxiety these days, that's for sure. It's a large pool of potential patients. So as you started to bring on more and more clinicians and grow the practice, like what was your mindset there? Were you looking for specific treatment areas, or were you focused more on the clinician themselves and what they could bring to your practice?
I mean, I've never sought out clinicians. They're the ones from the mental health counseling programs that end up looking for my practice. I've tried to work with I guess different backgrounds, and right now what has worked for me is other professionals who are transitioning careers, who are more mature, that are more independent to the extent of having the level of responsibility to follow through maintaining caseloads and also delivering a level of professionalism that's required. So being bilingual does kind of help in terms of ascertaining that they have the number of clients necessary to meet their hours to be able to finish their program. It's about 1,000 hours on their second year of their master's degree. So, and the fact that we don't accept insurance does sort of filter out a number of clients. But at the same time, the level of supervision that these clinicians get, I feel, is high quality. We meet every week for an hour. And there's also like my mentor, who's a senior clinician who joins us. And then I meet each clinician once a week for an hour of individual supervision. So it's very detailed, thorough work. For the children, we have 2 rooms in the Boca Raton office that is adapted for children. With like toys and all sorts of equipment that allow for the engagement in a more playful way.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's great. That's nice. And I'm kind of interested in patterns that you see. And as you've been in business now 6, 7 years, have you seen changes in patterns in terms of what some people are struggling with, or are they more environmental forces kind of changing all of our lives a little bit and forcing us to act in different ways? Like, what are some of the patterns you see?
I mean, in particular, when the pandemic hit, a lot of people started to switch towards online. I myself never stopped seeing clients, which was kind of left to each professional what they felt comfortable with. But I think both mediums work, whether it's through the telehealth or in person. I tend to feel that the in person always helps to solidify the relationship, especially when you have an approach that's more relationship based.
Mhm.
Um, and that's why I make sure to go back to Newark every so often. The for us clinicians that are bilingual, and then kind of try to assist the community of those who may only rely on the other language, other than English, like Portuguese. It's been a bit of a struggle because a lot of them now with telehealth tend to seek for professionals in their home country who assume that they are allowed to kind of see clients over here, and you can't compete with their rates.
Right.
So I don't limit myself to Portuguese speakers, and especially since my education was entirely in the US, I tend to see a lot of Americans and people from different backgrounds, Jewish and so on.
Okay. So let's a little bit about just being a business owner. So obviously you're in the business of helping people, but as someone who's charged with the oversight of the business, what are some of your challenges that you see every day?
Even though my first degree was in management, as we've grown larger, I do feel that there are a lot of bookkeeping aspect and business that are kind of beyond the scope of my knowledge. And I know that there are companies out there that are offering services to help support that kind of growing structure. And I've been hesitant to seek out the support for that. Um, so yes, as the group grows, and I've had issues in terms of clinicians who leave and end up taking their entire caseload, and to what extent we could collaborate better, where some of those clients remain in the practice. And I know now there's this whole issue with the whether non-compete clauses are enforceable or not, but there's got to be a way where we are at least able to offer clients, the clinicians that are here, in a way that it sounds appealing to the client to even consider staying, without it feeling like suddenly a third of your business just walks through the door and there's nothing you can say. Thank you very much.
Right. Yeah, certainly a challenge and a tough juggle, I'm sure, with managing other clinicians and all those checkups you're doing with your team, right, to make sure that I'm assuming that their patients are on the right track and they're working through the right thing. So a lot on your plate, that's for sure. But I would imagine, and I'd love to hear more about some of the impact that you're able to make on people's lives. And, you know, is that where you get your kind of motivation and energy to keep going and to keep pushing because you are making a difference?
Yes, I mean, I think especially for those in the mental health field who are career transitioners, they really feel a certain calling. Of course, you still want to do well financially and succeed, but there is that certain aspect of wanting to really get the work done in a way that you can see the results. And I think it involves as much science as it involves an art of doing the work. And I feel that the fact that, like, I've saved 30-year-old marriages, or helped people to really find themselves, or help them to recover from losses, or to die in a way where they didn't feel so much desperation with the process itself. My postmaster's degree was in grief counseling. So, death becomes something much more palatable than for, however the culture deals with it. And so, yes, I take a lot of pleasure in doing my work, and especially since I think a lot of people don't realize, like, clinicians end up working late hours because that's when people are available to do therapy. So when I first decided to go into this industry, and especially owning my own business, I didn't know it would be more of a 9 to 11 p.m. type of work. And that does, I think, end up weighing heavily on, family life and things like that. But it's a trade-off.
Yeah, no doubt. And so as you think towards the future, as you've grown this business and brought on other people and a larger practice, what do you think the future holds? Are you trying to continue in the same direction, or do you have some pivots up ahead? Like what's the future hold for your company?
I think I'm in the moment of actually assessing how to structure it moving forward. I've considered whether accepting at least one insurance would be helpful. I always end up business hold itself without having to go in that direction. And it's not that it's wrong for everyone. There's plenty of successful practices that do take insurance and do well. It's just that I would then need to structure it differently, have a different level of overhead and support that right now I don't. But I do intend on onboarding a clinician that speaks Spanish, since there is a need to be met. I plan on staying in the same location for at least another year or so before we consider growing size wise and, potentially bringing on more clinicians. The thing is, like, I love to do the clinical work, and the more clinicians I have to supervise, the more I step away
Right.
from my clinical role. I have considered joining other organizations to be able to then stick to the clinical role if they were willing to, uh, you know, pay what it would mean for me to give up owning my business, but I just don't see it out there. So,
Yeah, in tough balance, right? With your prioritization and growth versus the work you love. Totally understand that, and trying to find that balance is a little elusive sometimes. And a good segue to, as somebody that's owned the business for 6 or 7 years, there's a lot of people out there either thinking about taking the leap to starting their own business, or they're in a job that they don't like and they have an idea. Like, what's some words of wisdom you'd share to others in a situation that you may have been in, 7 years ago or so?
um, I guess if I could go back in time, I would like to have learned a little bit more on how to structure the business in ways that it could grow. Um, and But a lot of the learning also happens as you grow, so you will face challenges, and then patience, because people tend to imagine that it's going to be, profitable within 6 months and so on. And once you open a business, you need to be able to have enough working capital to be able to last long enough to then have a caseload, to have a certain reputation, to develop your clinical skills. And so um, it is a challenge. It's worth taking, but assessing the risk benefits to, doing it.
That is so true. And both as a business owner and the words you spoke about the treatments, super valuable to so many people out there. So certainly thank you for all the hard work you're doing, and really thank you for your time today. Susana, excuse me. So thank you so much for taking the time. The business is DaTerra Psychotherapy and Wellness. Susana Gaia, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.